In TVC Breakfast, now President Bola Tinubu has welcomed the removal of Nigeria from the Financial Action Task Force grey list, describing it as a major milestone in the country's pursuit of economic reform, institutional integrity, and global financial credibility. Now, this move by the FATF means that Nigeria is no longer on the list of jurisdictions under increased monitoring, commonly known as the grey list. Nigeria was first placed on the grey list in February 2023 after the FATF identified the need for stronger enforcement, coordination, and transparency measures. Now, joining us via Zoom for this conversation is the Executive Director, African Network for Environment, Economic Justice, David Ugolo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's so amazing to have you this morning for this topic. A lot of Nigerians are excited, as we should. We know that in 2023 we were added to this grey list, but now we see that Nigeria and South Africa are now out of the list. But the question on a lot of Nigerians that right now, what are the immediate effects and benefits that it will have on their jobs and also the image of how people see Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Again, we must congratulate the president and his team and the entire stakeholders who contributed to this achievement milestone, which again sends a very positive signal about Nigerian financial system. And what it means is that there will be increased business with Nigeria. Confidence building would have started by this announcement, and the private sector will continue to see the benefit, particularly the banking sector, and the entire economy will feel the heat because first, once you are on the green list, it sends a very wrong signal. You are increased monitoring, and it doesn't help the private sector, particularly the banking sectors, to have their correspondent bank cooperating with them. And the cost of doing business is very high when you're on the green list. So the removal of Nigeria from the green list, again, it will reduce cost for doing business. It again sends positive signals about the integrity of the financial system of the country, and also sends signals that the law enforcement agency has increased their interagency cooperation, which again the president acknowledged in his public statement he released a few days ago. For me, that is something that we must congratulate the leadership of the president, because this is what we refer to as political will. When there is a political will, things happen. President Tinubu and his team has made things to happen on this event that has happened. And I must ask all stakeholders, while opposition leaders, civil society, media, we must sing the praise of the president on this. When a president of a country provides leadership, things happen. And this is exactly what President Tinubu have done in the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing regime in Nigeria. So we must congratulate the president. And the economic impact is enormous. And this is something we must acknowledge. And some of us who have been working on this issue for a long time, we see this as an opportunity to deepen the reform, which will help sustain opportunity for economic growth in the country and thereby directly make job available for the people and then impact on the economy and the livelihood of the people.
Okay, that's beautiful to hear. And now that we have achieved this, what are the measures that Nigeria as a government and a people should take to ensure that it is sustained forever?
First, and that's exactly, that's a very good question, because we all know, this is a milestone, it's not the end goal. And I'm happy the president acknowledged this in his public statement. This is not the end goal, it's a milestone. Nigeria can reappear again in the green list. As a matter of fact, the green list is a precursor to being blacklisted, and that, is not what anybody will imagine for any country, not even Nigeria, not even any African country. So now that we have successfully exited from the green list, how we sustain this is very important. And some of us in the civil society, we see this as an opportunity to continue to build bridge with the government, particularly interagency cooperation, which has now taken a peak. We must also commend EFCC and ICPC, NFIU. All these agencies has increased their coordination. This has sent a strong signal, and they can also see the benefit because they were acknowledged by the president in his speech. And that, for me, we must congratulate the chairman of EFCC, who has provided this leadership and the other agency, and working closely with the Attorney General of the country. For me, it's something we must thank. But how do we sustain this? As you know, there is the proceed of crime regulation that provides a directives on how to go about the implementation of POCA, which provide a policy guideline on asset recovery and management in the country. Governments, agency, and anti-corruption agency must step up their coordination. The Attorney General of the country must provide leadership, and in providing leadership, things that were mentioned in the action plan which government have identified, they must continue to sustain it. For example, the central database which the Federal Ministry of Justice is hosting, the agency mentioned in the Proceed of Crime Act, they need to upload information, data on this central database. They must continue to do that, and the ministry must provide some kind of training, capacity support to make sure that the central database is well running and functioning. And beyond that, the interagency cooperation we are talking about, the minister must provide leadership, and organizations like EFCC, NFIU, and others need to continue to coordinate their interagency cooperation to sustain it. And then other stakeholders like the media, what TVC and others are currently doing in raising public awareness, must continue to put a sunlight on some of these issues, particularly on areas where that needs more assessment, particularly risk that are possible to taint Nigerian image globally. For example, if you look into the real estate sector, you can see that the publicly exposed persons need to be properly searched to ensure that we don't run into a problem of going back again to the green list. And I'm happy that the ASCC chairman has continued to put this in his top priority on
Thank you so much, Mr. Ogolo. Well said. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogolo. Now, from your experience tracking illicit financial flows, who do you think stands to benefit the most from this delisting? Is it government institutions? Is it ordinary citizens? Is it investors? And also, what do you say to people who say that this is international, this approval is symbolic, international approval, as opposed to genuine systemic change?
No, that's not true. People can be very cynical. I know very well that cynicism is as a result of distrust. People don't trust government. And that's why the government must take it as a responsibility to continue to provide information to the people. And so for me, it's not just greenwashing Nigerians about this removal from the green list. The truth is that the anti-money laundering and the counter-terrorism financing regime in Nigeria is deficient, and there were some challenges until the government took step in the last 2 years in addressing some of this deficiency, particularly in areas of asset recovery and management. Government has put in place legal framework. They have reformed their anti-money laundering laws, and that, again, has sent a signal providing a legal and regulations environment that help to address this deficiency. And we are seeing that operational, and we are seeing the government also putting more resources and support. And the activity of EFCC, NFIU, and other anti-corruption agencies in the country have also stepped up their game. And so it will be wrong for anybody to be cynical that nothing is happening. Yes, are there room for improvement? Yes, there is room for improvement. Are there ways to increase and deepening this reform? Yes, there is. And that's exactly the message we are passing on to the president, to strengthen his political support for this regime reform. Because like the president said, it's a milestone, it's not an endpoint. And like your question also point to, the international label that we have received by being exiting away from the green list provides an entry point for foreign investment to flow into the country. Yeah. And I just, a while ago, I saw that even the EFCC announced an enormous amount they have recovered from asset recovery campaign they have embarked upon. The idea is that foreign jurisdiction to cooperate with our anti-corruption agency in restituting assets back to the country, you need to put in place the legal framework that will provide the basis for such cooperation. And so the kind of reform that has happened that has led Nigeria to be exited away from the green list provides that room for that to happen.
That's right.
So if the anti-corruption agencies are getting the cooperations of the foreign jurisdiction, that shows that things are going well. And as the president mentions about the reforming the financial system, that is exactly the way to go.
Absolutely.
Is it the best now? No, but at least it points to a direction of political will on the part of the president, and we must acknowledge that.
Yeah, Mr. Ogolo, although being delisted, is a very big win. Some are still cautious, and then of exiting that grey list. That doesn't mean that we may not relapse, or there won't be any structural risks remaining. But let's play the devil's advocate. I'm wondering what you consider the key risks or soft spots that may make us relapse at the end of the day. For instance, looking at enforcement backlogs, beneficial ownership opacity, fintech and crypto channels that might cause Nigeria to slip back or deal, or for the deal to be less beneficial than expected.
Yes, like Nigerian government have put in place a beneficial ownership regime hosted by the Corporate Affairs Commission, and the government is doing a lot of investment there. And even the International Donor Agency and Development Agency are supporting an organization like ours, for example, which we are trying to now build and support capacity building for some relevant organization mentioned in the Proceeds of Crime law. Now, to zero on what exactly would the country be benefiting to ensure that they sustain this reform. Now, that reform that is ongoing, the Corporate Affairs Commission need to be sustained and deepening. And then the federal government need to ensure that support for organizations like the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, a multi-stakeholder framework for ensuring transparency and accountability in the oil and gas and mining sector, is sustained. Because when government continue to put resources in those reform institutions, it makes it possible for them to function properly. That will sustain. So government should continue to support Corporate Affairs Commission to sustain and deepen and ensure that the beneficial ownership register is open to the public, because that's the only way to put a sunlight on the whole entire system. It creates room for stakeholders to access this data and use them for transparency and accountability work. Then you also talk about legislation. There are legislative opportunities for reform. Government, the National Assembly must also provide leadership of oversight, particularly in the implementation of the Proceeds of Crime Act. There are opportunities for reform. There are opportunities to strengthen the relevant organization mentioned in that act, like EFCC, ICPC. We need to strengthen them. We need to support them to achieve and begin to achieve their goal. And then the other one is to also look at the opportunity of putting the right financial system in place. If you look, the level of illicit financial flow out of the country is huge. And we're talking about domestic mobilization of resources to enable Nigerian also be part of those who will meet the SDG goal, the Sustainable Development Goal. Without resources, you can achieve that goal. And so the whole priority on stopping the bleeding illicit financial flow out of the country is very important. And that's why the anti-money laundering regime that government put in place is very important. So you look at the laws, and the laws that are put in place, how do you strengthen enforcement? How do you ensure that those law enforcement agencies continue to receive the support that will enable them to carry out their responsibility? That's priority for the government. Then the inter-agency coordination is a priority. And for that to happen, government and under the leadership of the president must support the Federal Ministry of Justice under the leadership of the current Attorney General to provide that coordination, so that when those coordination happen, like the president rightly noted in his speech, in the statement he released, commending NFIU leadership for the role they have played, including EFCC. For me, that's the way to go. Once president begin to show understanding and begin to provide that kind of political support, then it gives those agencies that leverage to be able to carry out their work. And as civil society in the country, our responsibility is to continue to use this reform agenda as an opportunity to build bridge and to begin to...
Exactly. Mr. Ogolo, you have
opportunity for us
exactly.
to also raise criticism. We will also do that.
You have spoken so well, you know, really vibrant, and the way you've said it, a lot of people can now understand. But we're happy that this has happened. We have to praise the federal government for this. You know, even though opposition and there people will say things, we know that this is good for Nigeria. Our only prayer right now is that we are able to sustain it and not go back to the list again. But I want to go a little bit grassroots with this question.
Exactly.
When we say this, you know, people are confused. As a journalist, we on this table, we understand what this means for Nigeria. But the layman on the street, the bus driver, the woman at the market, she has no understanding. So that's why when you say this to her, she's confused. What is going on? So I want to ask you, what are some of the benefits that these people will get from this? Now I'm talking about the Okada rider, the people selling in the market, you know, the transportation people, the drivers. What are the benefits they're going to get from this? Because they are the ones that really do not understand this. If you walk on the street this morning and you tell somebody this, they're asking you, what is it? What has happened? Although we, the media, we are doing our job to make sure that we propagate it and make sure the whole world hears about it, because it's a fantastic news. But what these people that I just mentioned, what are they going to gain from this directly?
Just to give an example, there will be increased foreign investment into the country because there's trust, and cost of doing business will reduce. And once the tempo of business increases in the country, it will affect the common man on the street. Let's just take oil and gas sector, for example, Dangote refinery. Now, Dangote as a private sector man, his ability to attract partners and foreign exchange and doing business at a low cost will impact on the fuel that we sell to the common man on the street. And so when there is stability of fuel price and there is access to energy, you can imagine what that will happen to the economy. Yeah. And once the economy improves, the common man on the street livelihood will improve. And then when private business are doing more business, the banks are able to do more business with their correspondent bank, and they're able to do more business with their partners and more foreign investment. I heard in your paper review this morning that China is going to be investing $1.3 billion in the lithium industry. That for me is a good example of what will be happening in the next few months, because more private investors will be coming into the country. There's increased confidence in the global financial, in the national financial system of the country. And then that, again, as more business are coming into the country, if that Chinese company, wherever they will be operating, with all the safeguard in place, more of those community people and people in that community will get opportunity to work in that company. Yeah. And they will have opportunity to have more source of livelihood, and that impact on the community. And so if Dangote refinery improve its fuel refinery system because of cheap source to foreign investment partners, cheap access to foreign exchange, then it access new technology, and then more fuels are available for the country. Like, for example, you'll agree with me that in the last few 1 or 2 years now, we have seen decrease of traffic, people fighting over getting access to fuel. You know, it is very easy to criticize. It's very easy to see the wrong things, but it's also our responsibility as critics to also see when opportunity opens. That's what makes a country. We can't have a perfect system, and it's our idea that will achieve this perfect system. But where milestones are achieved, we must commend the government. So I join millions of Nigerians to commend President Tinubu. We want to see this as an opportunity of continuing to send a signal that the common people on the street, if along the line of the hope agenda of tackling poverty through social protection program, because more investment will come into the country, more poor people will come into the country. As my organization agenda in tackling poverty across the country, I see this as an opportunity. And for me, it's an opportunity to engage the government, to encourage the government and commend the government, because you need to also incentivize the government if they do the right thing. Yeah. President Bola Tinubu deserves commendation from Nigerians.
You see, your excitement is getting infectious.
I know. And I love when you mentioned that when the government does the right thing, it's high time that we give them their accolades, because the more you praise somebody, the more they do well. No, it's been fantastic talking to you.
Exactly. To be cynical is very easy. And I can understand where we are coming from. This cynicism, people don't believe government, people don't believe what they are doing. But you see, we all lost out completely when there are opportunities to see government achieving this kind of milestone. For example, it's not just Nigeria that was removed from the green list. South Africa, Mozambique, and Burkina Faso. And the countries, they are all celebrating this removal from the green list because it provides enormous opportunity for the government to do business with foreign jurisdiction. And that for me is something. And then even the anti-corruption agency, people don't know that EFCC, NFIU, and government, they face challenge working with foreign jurisdiction in trying to tackle the issue of illicit financial flow when money are carried out of the country taken to foreign jurisdiction. For EFCC to enjoy cooperation from the US, UK government, France, and others, government must be seen to put in place a law, an architecture that will aid this cooperation, that will aid mutual legal assistance from foreign jurisdiction. It's only when you appear on the good day of FATA agenda that you enjoy this kind of cooperation. So we must commend the government, commend the EFCC, commend NFIU.
Okay. They say when there is a right hand, there must be a left hand. So we have seen the right hand shown now. How do we guard against the left hand? My colleague asked earlier on, but you didn't really touch on it. There are some people there are some people that may try as much as they can, to ensure that this doesn't last. They want to put things in place to ensure that Nigeria goes back to its dark days. What are the measures that these agencies and the government should take to ensure that that doesn't happen?
Yes, very good. Thank you very much. I think that's very important. And that's why also, again, if you have critically examined the president's speech, it also makes references to that. We must sustain the reform if we are to achieve the target goal, because there are people working day and night to undermine the anti-money laundering rules and laws in the country. And these set of people are coming up with different kind of things. You have heard about the cryptocurrency fraud in the country. The people are devising all kinds of means of illicit financial flow out of the country. How do we tackle this challenge? We must increase support for organizations like anti-corruptions like EFCC and NFIU. Government must increase their interagency cooperation. The beneficial ownership regime in the country, led by the Corporate Affairs Commission, need to be strengthened. Government need to invest in it. And capacity of human resource for law enforcement agency, you need to increase support for their capacity building. As we are currently doing, we have a project we're currently doing with the support of the UK government. We're trying to strengthen the capacity in compliance with the Proceeds of Crime Act in the country. Now, if government deepening such assistance, it will make the EFCC and other anti-corruption law enforcement agency to be more effective. Not just EFCC and NFIU, NDLA, NFIU, the NAPTIP, all these law enforcement agencies, including the police, they need to be strengthened. You need to support them to be able to tackle the crime challenge we face in the country. And then two, the National Assembly, the members of the parliament, they must also play their role. If you look at the Proceeds of Crime Act that provides the whole asset recovery architecture for the country, there is a role for the National Assembly. The Auditor General of the country has got a role. So all these put in place will help us tackle this side you are talking about. We all stakeholders has responsibility. Like, for instance, we're looking at the opportunity. We can begin to create a dashboard reminding the government, look, if you're going wrong, that's our role as civil society, always raising an alarm that, yeah, you are going wrong. And we'll continue to monitor. We'll continue to put our eyes on what government is doing to ensure that there's compliance, particularly in areas that require urgent attention, like the real estate I mentioned earlier on. You know, if you look, the level of money laundering going on in the real estate sector in the country is huge. And I'm happy that EFCC have taken note of that. Yeah. The new corruption going on in the cryptocurrency fraud landscape is another area that politicians are easily moving their resources into cryptocurrency. So what are the new techniques and tools that need to be put in place that will empower EFCC to tackle these new challenges? It requires resources. It requires new training. This is exactly where I appeal to the president of the country to put his interest on, because the more this anti-corruption agency are able to carry out law enforcement to reduce crime and then prosecution of those who commit a crime. That's the role of the judiciary. You know, the judiciary, and that's something we are looking into with the Federal Ministry of Justice, to train the judiciary on new laws like the Proceed of Crime Act, on how to administer justice,
Absolutely.
particularly those politically exposed persons that are involved in illicit financial flow in the country.
Absolutely. Very, very well said, Mr. Ogolo. Now, while this is great news, this is not the first time that Nigeria has been delisted. I believe that we're listed in 2006 as well, and then we're subsequently grey-listed in the year 2023. I want you to tell me what is so unique about this current administration's landscape, the financial and socioeconomic landscape that they put in place that made this delisting possible.
Well, I think first, for me, the leadership of the president provides this. Give an example. As soon as this whole thing happened in 2023, February, the chief of staff to the president immediately went to visit NFIU. That visit was a political message to the agency to do the needful. And the leadership of NFIU stepped into that opportunity to drive that reform that was required to tackle some of the action plan identified by the Financial Action Task Force body. And so what I will say that makes it unique is that this government took an action. And why is this so unique, this removal of this from this green list, is that the way the government took it and the action they took, and in addressing it, they put in place interagency corporations that drive this reform. And the leadership provided by the Minister of the Attorney General, the Minister of Justice in the country, through all the bodies that cooperated with NFIU that led to this removal from the green list, is the uniqueness. And now, what is unique in sustaining this is the kind of messaging that is coming from EFCC leadership
Mr. David
and
Igolo,
NFIU.
You've made me very happy today. I'm going to have a fantastic week. I love how positive you are, and I just hope that we remain to stay off that list. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's safe to say congratulations to every Nigerian, right?
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank
you, sir. Have a fantastic day.
TVC has been on this for a long time now.
Yeah. We are always #1 in everything. It's just us. That's how we roll. All right, thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Join us after the break as we discuss the tax ahead of the newly appointed service chiefs in Nigeria. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.